Hey everyone, Maury Dunbar here back at Painted Studio. Welcome to winter. Oh my gosh, it's cold here. It's supposed to go down to something like -1 tonight and -3 tomorrow, or -7 tomorrow. I can't even keep it straight. It's been so cold that I haven't even wanted to get paint out because that doesn't help anything right now, even though it's nice and toasty in the studio. So I'm very grateful for that. It's very comfortable here. All right, so we are today in the last of our series of multiple layered stencils with foil. Now we started with this one, which is the Foo Dog. That was a Helen Morris stencil from Stencil Library with a Harlequin background, and that came out very nicely. I'm sorry, it's getting a little glare, but you can see all of this. Now, if you remember from my first video, I had a couple colors that were too close, so I just basically redid this and got the contrast that I needed to get good imaging showing up here. So I'm very happy with that. I have not top coated any of these, which is my next job, so that the samples don't stick to each other. Then we did our multi-layered iris stencil which is an old Jan Dressler stencil. Again, this one's discontinued. Actually, all the Jan Dressler stencils are discontinued. She went out of business a while ago. Somehow I inherited these from somebody, and if you happen to be watching, I'm sorry, I don't remember who gave them to me. I got given a whole lot of stencils at one point, and I can't remember who gave me what, so I apologize. But this is the bearded iris stencil, and that came out. You can see how many layers and how many different colors and patterns we used in that, and here are the leaves and all of that. So we used lots of different stuff to get terrific effects on that. Again, that's not top coated. All of these will get top coated once I'm done. And then this one was the Larkspur or Foxglove stencil. Don't ask me which. I don't have the paper that told me which one this was. And this actually took way longer than I thought because I did the Evil Eye stencil in the background. That's a Melanie Royal stencil. Now, all of these designs can be applied to walls, to furniture, to floors, to any surface that you can apply a multi-layered stencil to. The one thing that we hadn't covered and that I said I was going to cover is what if I wanted to make this looking more like a garden? So I had multiple flower stencils and then multiple depths on this. So here's the one I started today. And I had to spend a little time figuring out which went first and how you layer this. So truly, the pattern that you wanted to stand in the front, which for me was this, she calls it Dutch irises. So if you find this stencil somewhere, this is Jan Dressler's Dutch iris stencil. They're my favorite flower. I know this is more of a Japanese iris, but the name of the stencil is Dutch iris. So to make them the forefront stencil, you don't put all of these down at the same time and start working that way because everything gets crossed over and messed up. You actually have to put this flower that you want in the very front and complete it before you put the background flowers in. And that's what I did. So the Dutch iris, you can see, is done completely first. And then I went and put the Larkspur back here. We're going to do another one of those today. And then we're just going to do the background. And this is the board I told you I spilled paint on. So if you look right here, that blue mess in the background, that's paint. Foil will cover that because I have foiled the whole darn thing. But because the way I did this, you can see that the Larkspur kind of hangs back behind the irises. And so it's a matter of planning which you want to be your most prominent flower. If I wanted the irises in the back, then I would have had to do the Larkspur first. So we're going to do the Larkspur. Since we've done this one before, it will actually go a little faster, and I promise I'm not doing some insane and crazy pattern behind there. So this is, by the way, this is the Dutch iris stencil from Jan Dressler This is a 3-layer stencil, but multicolored. And if you look, because I looked at this one again, came with the illustration. If you look, you can see I'm doing this and looking at the camera. You can see I kind of blended some colors into the petals just so that there was more definition, similar to how we're going to do with the larkspur. All right, I'm going to flip the camera down, and I have about 20 rolls of foil sitting right next to me from having done this before. I did all of this afternoon just so this would be ready for the live, and then we'll complete the background and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Now, the one thing I did have to do with my stencil is I had to create additional registration marks. I punched holes, I put the whole thing in a stack and punched holes in it. Why? Because I'm going off of here and I've shifted where the flowers would sit, so I had no way of lining any sort of registration up. I needed to make more registration that would work for this. So the factory made registration marks are up here, these little diamonds. My extra ones are these punch holes that I put in here. So I'm gonna turn this around just so I can line it up where I need it. And we're gonna start. So I want, where do I want things? Let's do this like this, I think. And I don't have that on straight, and I've got a roll of foil making it impossible for me to put it straight there. And as you can see, some of this has gotten torn a little bit because this is taking a beating from me, and I will put a piece of tape over there when I'm done. But my goal right now is to set this up so it's fairly straight. I want to do that up a little higher. I'm not trying to make these identical in height or anything else. I'm just trying to make it so that we have a little variation. And let's do, I want to see where I put that. This is close enough. Okay, so I have to pull that little piece of punched plastic off of there. And hope that there's a clear spot, because if there isn't, I'm going to have to move the stencil again, because I need to create a registration mark. And that's not going to work. So I'm going to have to shift it around until I can find a spot that I can create a registration mark. This is going to be fun because I've now put so much foil on everything that I need to make sure I find a little brown spot that'll allow me to make a little mark. Do I want that there? That's pretty far over. Do I want it over a little further? That'll work. Okay, and I just got to make sure these little, I used a hole punch. Hole punches don't go through Mylar very easily. So I kind of had to make a point of finding a way to make it work. All right, so I'm going to take a little bit. What color am I going to do that there? Where's all my, let's see, I'm going to use, what color am I going to use in the background? I think I'm going to use, I had my colors picked for the background. Okay, I'm going to take a little silver. And this is, which is this? Koi Cheetah in silver. I used this for this, some of this on the bearded irises, or the Dutch irises, but we're also going to use that for the background. So the idea is that I'm putting something in that would actually work with what I'm going to do as a background. There we go. So I've got my registration marks marked in there so it's easy for me to find. Now again, if I was doing this in paint, I'd have a piece of tape under here so that I wouldn't be marking my surface with a registration mark. Unfortunately, that's not what I get to have today. So I need to pay attention and do what I need to do to get this put together the way I want it to. I don't have any of that. So for these little pieces, we're going to use, which is this, pink flower power. Little piece of pink flower power. For the smallest parts, and as you know, the smallest parts take the longest because I got to get the little stylus into each of them and scrub the foil in. And truly, this is the part that takes the longest, so if you don't want to watch this because you've seen me do this pattern already, I respect that. Quite frankly, I can see that getting annoying. Oh, hang on, let me go and get on my Facebook page so that if you all have any questions, I can see them. Make sure to turn the volume down so I don't have to hear myself on echo, because that's never fun. Okay, so here we are. Let's get to the last one here. This is our last flower in this series, our last layered stencil in this series. And this should not, famous last words, because the last time I said this, I picked like the most complicated stencil I could choose for the background, but I am not doing that today. We're going to do a simple checkerboard background. I've done two sort of organic shaped backgrounds. One was crumpled foil and then a solid over it. Then I did a diamond pattern on the foo dog. I did those evil eyes on the other foxglove, or whatever this plant is. So this one, I'm just going to do a checkerboard background. We're going to keep it simple and easy because that's a fast one to do. Okay. And you'll notice that in some of these spots, other colors are already there because I've already laid down another pattern. That's part of what makes this move faster. Now I'm gonna zoom in a little bit so you can see what I'm doing a little better. That should make it a little easier for you all to see what I'm doing. And since I've already done this once today, doing this one, I've got my pattern down today. Thank goodness. All right, this is Celadon Green. This is a fabric-friendly foil. And I'm basically using the same colors that I used last time when I did this pattern on the other one, just because then I don't have to refigure my greens out and all of that. And all of this is pretty straightforward. So you start, this is the layer that would normally be painted last. It says layer 3 on the stencil, but because we're doing it in foils, you have to put the last layer down first so that it doesn't completely block out a spot that you want a pattern to show. Again, I'm using my little stylus. I'm coming through. I'm giving it a little scrub. But you can see that that pattern's not complete because there's more of another leaf coming through there. So let's see if I can get this down in here. I'm just going to come in. And if you hear a little crackling in back, it's because I have a candle burning today. It's off camera so you can't see it, but it's got a wood wick to it, and it makes that sort of crackling wood sound, which is, I find, very soothing. So now all of these foils, of course, are available on our website, paintedstudio.com. So if you see a color that you like, let me know. This one is Celadon Green. I might have to figure out, if you put it in the comments, I'm going to have to figure out which green or which pink you would be talking about, but that's okay. I'll list them all. So this is Celadon Green. We used pink flower power here, and these are the veins of the flowers. So I'm going to come in here with my little brush. The brush doesn't, when you're in these little spots on a stencil, brush is not actually so great for releasing the foils. I almost need like a little super stiff little brush to come in here and do that. And I don't have anything that falls into that category. That's why I'm using my stylus. Oops, I missed a little spot right there. You just come back in if you see a spot that you missed, and you lay it down and touch it up. It's not a big deal. Okay, that one I already did. Let's get this little guy right here. And you'll see that your foil doesn't stick to the entire surface, and that's because there's other stuff under there. So it's not supposed to stick completely to everything, because otherwise that would ruin the effect. You're working with layers, so this is a back layer, which means you should see other things already, which would make this look buried. So again, you start with the most prominent image that you want. For me, it was the Dutch irises. And then you build your other layers behind it, but you always start with the last layer of each stencil, because those are the minute details that would be painted on last if you were painting. But with foils, you have to reverse the order, so the little details get laid down first. So if your stencil is 3 layers and it says layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, layer 4, you start and go 4, 3, 2, 1. And if that doesn't make any sense, let me know. I will keep explaining until it makes sense to everybody. All right, let's get all of these little leaf veins put in. And as you can see, it looks striped because there are other leaves that are already in part of that space that need to show through. So you just know that you're not going to get a 100% release, because you're not supposed to. Okay, if anything, like a leaf under, and you can see the leafing pattern under the stencil, so that should make some sense to you. So if you see, a leaf here and a leaf there, and it's coming through your pattern, know that that's supposed to be that way, because those are actually the pattern that's in the forefront, and you're building up a different pattern that will be part of the back layer of design. It's a little counterintuitive, and it took me a little while to figure out how to do this. Fortunately, I figured it out, kind of a while ago, so I've had a bunch of practice doing this. All I can tell you is that you're building from the front back. And this is something I learned because I do verglamise, which is the reverse painting on glass. So it's sort of the same principle that the details have to go on first. And then you put the color in, the solids, and you're moving your pattern backwards instead of building it up forwards. All right, so that's done. Throw that down there we got a little bit here to do. So to get the pattern that I want, which is, let's move that a little bit. So to get the pattern that I want that's over here, I get a little color blending happening. I take a little bit of my foil and I lay it down like this. And move the camera back. Take my toothbrush, give it a little scrub, pull it off. I am not going for perfect. I'm not going for complete. I just want it to sort of be lighter pink in one spot, and then it'll come in with the fuchsia, our matte fuchsia, in the rest of this. So we're going to lay the matte fuchsia over that area. So you can see this is a piece I was using on the last one. I'm going to need more, but that's for the next layer. I'm going to come back, whoops, that was the wrong end of my stylus. Come back in, and I'm going to give this a little scrub like this. Now the reason I'm giving this a scrub with my stylus like this is that, like I said, these little, even the toothbrush, it just does not fit into this space very well, and I don't get enough pressure to release my pattern the way I want to. So I just go over it with the stylus like this. Again, I don't scrub in circles because that might show up in the pattern and that won't make me happy. I go and scrub in a vertical or a horizontal pattern. I got a little bit there to fill in. All right, so that layer is now complete. It sort of looks like I didn't do stuff because there's all these stripes and lines through it, but it will show completely the way it's supposed to in the end. So let's remove this layer. And as you can see, things now look like they're tucked behind different leaves. So now we're going to take layer number 2. Make sure I got the right layer. Layer number 2, I'm going to turn it this way so I can see my registration marks. Put this down. There's that one. That one. And there's that one. There we go. We're going to lay that down on there. Turn it back around. I'm going to open this up again a little bit so you can see a little better. And now here's my other patterns all laying down here. So the next thing I'm going to do is, I don't think I have any scrap pieces of it left, so I'm going to grab a little piece of my lentil foil, another fabric friendly foil, there's that. Again, this color is called lentil. And we're going to put this down here. I'm going to take my slightly bigger scrubber brush. Not that that's going to be what really gets it down in these smaller spaces, but at least it tacks it down. All right, where did I put my... This is what happens when things get really crowded after I've been doing stuff like this all day. Around me, you can't see the chaos, and be glad for it. All right, again, we're going to push around the edge of the stencil so my outline is crisper. And then I'm just taking my stencil, my stylus, and giving it a little extra scrape across the entire thing because I can't get the pressure I want into these small spaces. I do better. And if you don't have a stylus, you can use a wooden skewer, you can use a popsicle stick, you can use all kinds of things to help you get it into these edges a little better. If you have a little brush that's like, one of our dollar store stiff toothbrushes, but it's stiffer. I think for me, if I cut these bristles down, which I'm probably going to do after we get off the live because I didn't think about it until just now, but if I cut it down even shorter than it is, I would probably get a bristle stiff enough to do what I need in these little spaces. Let's pull that back. Yep. I know it's hard to see because the brown and the lentil look very similar, but I'll show you the release in just a minute. So you can see it is coming off of there really nicely. All right, there's our last one right there. And the lentil. As you can see, this one's actually going kind of a lot faster today. I'm thankful for that because I think the one I did last week, that was like 2 hours, and I'm not normally doing 2-hour lives. You all know that. I like my 30 minutes to under an hour live. That's just too much time. All right, that's completed. We're gonna put that there. Now we're gonna come up and do our little flowers. And if you, I don't think I can get this close, but those little dots that I was doing before are all in these pieces here. They're just more detail on the foxglove, the larkspur, the whatever this pattern actually is. So I'm gonna go give a little scrub there. I really don't like that brush for what I'm doing. It's not working for me, so maybe I'll come and do this one. And this just sort of gives this a little bit of a blush like you see right here on these other parts of the pattern. So I'm not trying to fill it in, I'm just trying to give a gradation of color. I'm not being super careful on how I apply it. I just want to get it in there. A little smear of color almost. Okay. Let's come in there. And as you can see by the purple that's here and the green that's here, we're coming behind both leaves and other flowers at this point. So we've got lots and lots of stuff going on, which is very cool. And let's get this down. All right, put that to the side. I am finished with that. Now we're going to come in with more fuchsia. I'm going to use up whatever's left on this little piece and get it all in there. And this I need a more complete release on so that I get all of my details showing nicely. So if I do a half efforted job here, I'm trying not to swear on Facebook, but if I do a half job on there, I need to come back in and fix my little spots so that it's not that kind of a job. All right, that comes in. I think I need a little bit right in there. Okay. And oh, I know why that wasn't there. That's actually over the registration mark. just a little tiny bit right there. Now, mind you, the reason I can just sort of rip this off the way I'm doing, which I don't normally do, is I've had stencils and stuff over this surface so many times that I've kind of dulled the tack just a little bit, and I can pull off hard on my stencils. Normally I'm a little, on my foils, normally I'm a little more careful, but at this point I don't really have to be. Let's get that off of there. Yeah, that's looking good. Let's see if I'm going to probably need one more little tiny piece of foil to finish this up, but I'm going to try to use as much of this as I can. So what does everybody listen to when they're working quietly on their own, when nobody's around? I am a combination of all sorts of things. Sometimes I will have a movie on in the background on my iPad. Sometimes I'll have a book on. Sometimes it'll be music. It really just depends on my mood. But I'm a junkie, a book on tapes junkie, or recorded books junkie. I've had Audible subscription for like, well, since my very first iPod, which was a long, long time ago. So for me, I actually am happier with that than I'm ready for another piece. I'm happier with a book. I got used to that with long, long drives, because I used to drive back and forth to the East Coast all the time. And so having books downloaded was like my thing. And I still do constantly, because anytime I drive, there's almost always a book playing. Unless I'm in the mood to sing along with something. Okay, again, this is our matte fuchsia foil. Now this one I'm not going to see a lot of color because there's already a pattern on there. You're seeing some of our Dutch iris show in the background. Okay, give me a second. I need a little drink here. Me and my watery iced tea, even on the coldest days of the year. I've had about as much coffee as I can handle for the day, so can't do any more. Okay, so you can see that just gave a little bit of color right there. Should be able to see that's as small as I can get it for right there. Just put a little color in because that flower is going to be in the background. I know this is a little hard to see right now, but once I reveal it, you'll start seeing how this works and it'll make more sense. Somebody let the delivery in. Okay, let me put this in just for a second. Give that a little scrub down. Helps tack it down even if it doesn't really release any foil. Okay, so there again, it filled in pattern. Filled in around what was already applied. Okay. Oh, that's coming out really well. All right, so there's all of that pattern now completely laid down for the second layer. Told you it goes faster this time. And now you can start to see that those flowers, again, are behind these leaves for this stencil. All right, so let's put that piece down. I'm going to be hunting all over the place for these stencil parts because they're kind of thrown all over the floor behind me. All right, let me open this up again just a little bit so I can have you see what I'm doing. So now I'm looking for my last two spots of the registration. So this is layer 3. There's one spot there. Let's get this laid down. One spot here. Okay, so now here's this. And again, you can see that things are already there. So wherever I lay the foil down, where there is a pattern already showing, it will not release any foil. Okay, what did I do? There we go. And we're going to use my green pebbles foil. And this pattern looks a little more subtle on here than it does on other things, but if you can see that pebble pattern, it just adds a nice variation to everything. So we're going to take that, and let me find my seam and tape the roll up so it doesn't go unrolling when I put it back on the rack. We have like a couple hundred foils, seriously. So one of my goals is to try to keep them all taped closed, because otherwise they start coming off the rack in piles. All right, now we're going to turn this back around so that my arms aren't on the adhesive area. And I'm just going to, which way do I want to do it? Let's start over here. The closer I can get and put foil on areas that my arms might lean on, the better. Okay. Again, this is not really so much releasing the foil as getting it stuck onto the open areas in the stencil so it doesn't shift while I'm doing the details in with my stylus. And if you're not familiar with what a stylus is, it is a little thing with a wooden ball, with a round ball on the end, usually made out of metal. I have some funky ones. Let's see if I can find them around here, or if I put them somewhere else. If you have trouble finding them, they're all over the place. But I even went to like a nail supply store because they do some of those little dotting things with nail polish. I found nail brushes that have styluses on the other end. So I get a brush and a stylus in one, because the nail brushes are just brushes that you can use acrylic product with, and that makes me very happy to have that. So for me, that's an extra 2-for-1 tool. So eventually I will wear the little ball end off of this, and it will become a sharp-edged nub like the other side that has the that had the smaller nub, that I just wore the nub down to a little sharp edge. I'll eventually do that with this one too, so having backups is a good thing. But you can find styluses at any kind of craft store, or you can find them on Amazon, or you can find them in, Hobby Lobby, Michael's. I don't know if you can find them in Joann's, unfortunately. I just read that Joann's is going into bankruptcy, so sadly, I'm not sure where people are going to get fabrics anymore either. It's going to be a lot of people ordering even fabrics online and stuff, which is kind of sad to me. I know there's specialty fashion fabric stores here, but I guess, I grew up everywhere. We had all kinds of fabric stores growing up, and my mother sewed a lot of clothes for us from the time I was a little baby to into adulthood. She made beautiful clothes. I wish I could still fit into them, but she made me some truly beautiful formal wear, a lot of jumpers and stuff like that as a little kid. But now, you know, even here in Chicago, we had Hancock Fabrics, Joann Fabrics, and then there was a bunch of different fabric stores on the south side of the city and things like that. All of those places are sort of disappearing, and that makes me very sad. All right, let's get down in here. Just a little bit there. Let's see if I can get a little more scrubbed in here. These are a little bigger openings, so I might have a little more luck getting some of that pattern released a little more solidly. Yeah, that did it. Okay, let's come over here and get these down here. But people don't sew as much as they used to. I mean, I grew up, I learned to make clothes, not my first, I was a Girl Scout. I didn't love Girl Scouts. I loved brownies, but I didn't love Girl Scouts, so I only did 1 year of Girl Scouts. And my mother was one of the troop leaders at that time, and we all earned a sewing badge. I made a skirt that was very I could wear it at, like, I don't know, how old are you when you go become a Girl Scout? 10, 11? So I made my own skirt there. It was typical for the age. It was a Lily Pulitzer fabric. And yes, you could buy, I don't know if you can buy Lily Pulitzer fabrics anymore, but you used to be able to buy Lily Pulitzer fabrics at fabric stores, and then you could buy Lily Pulitzer patterns from like Butterick or something. Calls Butterick, whoever licensed the pattern from Lily Pulitzer. But yeah, I did that. I made clothes all through high school. I had one of my closest friends in high school, her mother was a seamstress, made beautiful clothes, wedding dresses. She made a lot of wedding dresses, just beautiful clothes. And then went to work for Kleinfeld's in Manhattan for a lot of years. So I grew up making clothes. That was part of my growing up life. And it doesn't seem to be what a lot of people do anymore. And that's kind of sad. It seems to be more of a little bit of a lost art. You know, I don't think they teach that, you know, so much clothes making in home ec. But I used to make my son's, a lot of my son's baby clothes. Why? Because baby clothes were expensive and we were broke young couple, and so I'd go buy, you know, whatever flannels, because he was a January baby just like me. His birthday's at the end of this week. I can't believe he's turning 29. But just like me, he was a January baby, so he needed warm clothes, and they didn't make a lot of onesies and flannels when he was born, so I went and made them myself. And they were so cute. Little flannel onesies, and he was just adorable in them. I have a lot of baby pictures of him in flannel onesies that I made. So truly, you know, making things has been something I have always done. And if I wasn't painting, I was sewing. If I wasn't sewing, I was doing something else. And that's why it makes me sad to think that Joann Fabrics might be going out of business. So now I don't know where I'm going to find anything. Because if you're a sewer, you know this. You like to not just see the pattern, you want to feel the fabric. You know, a lot of things are, it looks pretty, but then you get it in your hands and it doesn't feel the way you want it to feel. So, and that's really a big thing with fabrics. You need to get your hands on it. So I'm a little concerned a bit with that news. And I'm hoping that it doesn't happen. Of course, a lot of companies have filed for bankruptcy and then still managed to stay open. So hopefully there'll be some sort of receivership or something. But now we're just about done with this. This is our last little bit here. We've got all of our colors in. I'm just checking to see if I've missed any spots, because I always do miss something. Especially on these little tiny areas, because it's so easy to do. Okay, I think, yep, got it all. All right, now we're gonna pull it off, and you can see how those flowers are now behind this Dutch iris is in the front. So that's really what you have to do. And if I wanted more flowers to be behind this, I'd have to then start, I'd start with this one, then I'd do this one, and then I'd come with another flower in the background behind that. I don't have another flower pattern, so don't worry, we're not going crazy with that. Next thing we're going to do is create the background. And I have this old checkerboard stencil that I was using. I think I used it to create a pattern on a, oh God, I don't remember what I put it on. It was on, I think it was on a piece of furniture. So I'm just gonna set this down. We're gonna do this. I'm going to use our Koi Cheetah in silver. And this should be quite easy and quite quick, because I don't want just the plain brown background. I want some pattern. And this is what will fill in any other sticky spots. And then we'll fill in with a final color in the background. So I'm coming through here. I didn't get quite to the edge there. Oh well, I'll get that in a minute. Not like I don't have plenty of foil to do that. And the pattern repeat will be its registration on its own. It won't require me to come in and do a whole lot of extra work to get that. Where did I put my, there's my stylus. See, I told you, I get into everything and I just need to clear my table after the end of this. Now I'll get all these edges, but I'm not pushing super hard because I know there's pattern under here and I don't want to score my patterns. But as I lift, I'll check to make sure that I got everything that needed to be gotten, or I'll come back and give it a little scrub. So you lift and look and look and lift. Meanwhile, I'm just giving it a little push down with my finger to make sure that anything that needs to get stuck gets stuck. Let's get that off of there. I could use a new piece of tape on it. And as I get closer to the bottom, the less I expect to have any of this adhering to my surface because I have all these leaves and the flowers and everything else in here. So there's going to be a lot of stuff that I only would expect to see a partial release from. Okay, again, I'm going to come back at this with my scrub brush just to make sure I'm getting down on any area that actually has some exposed adhesive. And then we're slowly going to pull this up and see if I need to redo my foil anywhere. Oh, that's looking good. I need to get that in there. Okay. I do need to get that edge, but that can be arranged. Come in here with my little stylus. Okay. There was a blob of something that spilled. Shocker. I know. I bring in a messy board and I'm surprised that there's something that's sticking up. Okay, we need to come in here and do a little bit of this on here. That's better. Okay. Each one I gotta check a little just to make sure. Let's get over here. I'm going to start rolling it back towards me just because then it's an easier reach for me. Let's get this in here. I'm less likely to stick my elbows in something I don't want to stick them into. Why is that showing up again? I need to do a little something right here. Need to do a little something right there. Okay, we need a little foil right in here. Here. And then leave here. And I need to touch up that edge over there. Again, we're looking at boards that are about 1 foot wide, foils that are about 1 foot wide. And I'm not worrying if I get a perfect lay down on it. So, yeah, sometimes you just gotta move with it. And I want some over here. All right, so we've got our checkerboard pattern here. I just have to shift it down a little bit. And as you can see now, that big blue blob of paint is starting to disappear too. All right, let's line up my squares. And that's not well lined up. Getting them on straight, which is Nothing new for me. Okay, there we go. That's good. I'm going to need another fresh piece of foil. And again, any of these foils that you see me throwing to the side end up in our scrap bag, so that when you order foils from us, you might get scraps from this project, you might get scraps from another project. We send you scraps not as our garbage, but so that you can try pieces of foil that you didn't order and you might want for another project or for another day. And I do try to take a look at your order and make sure we don't send you something you've already placed in your order. So some of our foil people have darn near everything because they've ordered just about every color under the sun. But the scraps also help you to create a pattern. They help you, you can learn how to work your foils. If you're new to foils, they can give you an opportunity to do a little detail that you might not have thought of, like we're doing here. It's just a little gift from us to you, so we're not sending you garbage. We are sending you something you can play with. So, all right, let's see where we're at with this. Let me take my little, I know I'm going to have to come up to that edge and clean that up there. I think some of this is areas I've already gotten. So let's do this. You can see I'm feeling with my fingers to make sure I don't miss spots, because that's really, really easy to do. Even when you're practiced and used to doing this, it's really easy to miss stuff. So let's pull this back. And there we go, I need a little bit right there. Let's see if I've missed anything that's coming off of here. Nope. I could use a little bit right there, and I'll check that in a minute because that needs to actually go off the edge. Make sure I got it all off the edge. I shift my stencil back into a different direction and it'll give me the clearance that I need. All right, that all looks pretty good. Just a little bit right here. Okay. Okay, that's what I need to do right there. Let's come here to make sure everything goes off the edge the way it's supposed to. Just like it does on the other side. In here for the corners. And so now we have this lovely, lovely checkerboard pattern already on here, and we're going to finish this off with a dark pewter. This is, well, this is actually gunmetal, not pewter. Now I could go with pewter, which would be a little more monochromatic, a little closer, but I'm playing with stuff, so I'm just embracing what I choose and seeing how it goes. Now, I don't know if I'm going to get this laid out 100% smoothly to cover the entire board. We're going to find out. Now, I got it to cover most of it. So that's pretty good. So I'm going to take my big brush, because this one is very stiff and covers a lot of area, and all I'm doing now is filling in the open sticky spots. And you can see I didn't get my edge here, and I didn't get my bottom, so I'm not scrubbing all the way to the edge. I'm not scrubbing all the way to the bottom. Any place that I have some exposed foil adhesive, I'm not scrubbing to the edge so I can blend it in well instead of having a heavy seam. Now, hopefully this will work well. Now the thing to know too is that because I'm foiling over foil, especially when I'm using something like this, I can scratch my foils underneath. That's okay, because I'm going to put a gloss coat on here that will restore some of the shine. And with these multiple patterns that I'm creating, that's actually not a bad look. So I'm going to come down here. I'm going to put my foil down on this. I'm going to pull it back. And make it right there, because that's a... Now we're going to flip it this way. I'm going to get the spot that I missed. I'm going to take a piece of fresh foil. So even though it looks a little brownish still, you can see how this is releasing. You can see that we got a lot of the pattern off. I just want a piece of fresh foil because I hate trying to, on something this kind of size, I don't want to try to match the pattern and stuff. I want to just completely fill it in. And again, if I don't feel that it's filling it in enough, I can put it back down. I can scrub some more. I can get some more foil release. But this sort of almost gives the impression of a garden trellis, which I'm really liking. Now I'm just going to test the difference between that big brush and then if I come in with a smaller brush, if I get any better, any more I should say. Yeah, I'm getting a little more coming off. So it doesn't always hurt to, if you feel like you've got a spot that doesn't have enough released foil on there, come back in, put down your foil, put in a little more. Okay, so now you can see where we're at. We have multiple layers of flowers and this beautiful, beautiful background that almost looks like a trellis for this. I'm very pleased with this. I'm going to turn this sideways just so it goes all into here. And now we're going to flip the camera up. We are done. Looky, looky, looky. So this is multiple layers of multiple layer stencils to create this garden effect. And now you understand how to do it. So whatever flower you want to be in the forefront is the one you have to do first. And I did our Dutch irises that I happen to have that old stencil with. Then you go back and you do the next layer of flowers that would be right behind it. Say I had a daisy stencil, if I wanted daisies in the background, behind the larkspur, behind the irises, before I ever put this background pattern on, then I do those flowers. And again, you fill it in almost like a bouquet. And I think this is just a really cool way to get some great looks. Again, takes time. We've been on probably for about an hour, maybe a little less, but it does take time to do this. So we'll be back tomorrow with a completely different project. I promise we're not going to do more of these, but it was definitely worth sharing this with you all. I'm really pleased with the results. and I think there was a lot to share with it. All right, everybody, stay warm, and I will probably be back and seeing you tomorrow. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.